Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going a bit beyond the usual numbers, beyond the pounds lost, even beyond the physical side we hear so much about.
Yeah.
Because here's something really unexpected. What happens when you're like deep into a weight loss journey and a really long-standing, powerful craving just vanishes, doesn't show up anymore?
Mm-hmm. It's quite a thing.
It's not just physical, right? It's this huge psychological shift. And the real question we're digging into today is, well, what do you actually do when the thing that used to comfort you, your go-to, just suddenly goes quiet?
Exactly. And we're diving deep into some really fascinating insights here, looking at sources like entry #1, the day the food craving didn't come, and also the story beneath the weight, what cravings can't hide.
Okay.
These give a unique viewpoint, especially for people who've had big changes, maybe, helped along by things like semaglutide.
Those medications.
Yeah, and just for context, these aren't simply diet pills. They actually mimic hormones that manage appetite and blood sugar.
Yeah.
So they effectively sort of turn down the volume on that constant food noise.
Makes sense.
And our goal isn't just figuring out what happens in this new quiet space, but really why it matters.
Yeah.
And what kind of opportunities for real self-discovery it opens up.
Okay, so to really unpack this, let's start with someone specific. Let's talk about Kate's story.
Good idea.
So Kate is 46. She's a busy mother of 3, has 2 dogs. Probably like many of us, has that half-finished book on the nightstand.
Relatable.
She'd been using semaglutide for about 2 months. She was 7 pounds down, which is steady progress. Minimal side effects. Her blood sugar was improving.
So on paper, pretty good.
Exactly. Physically, everything seemed, on track. But her internal experience, that was completely different, totally unexpected.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, Kate described her old relationship with food so vividly. She said she knew the rhythm of hunger like other people know hymns. Yeah, like an afternoon slump automatically meant chips. If she felt lonely, it was bread. If she felt joy, well, that needed cake because, and this is her quote, if you didn't sweeten joy, it might not last.
That's a really deep connection, almost ritualistic.
Totally. And then this pivotal moment happened. It's kind of mind-blowing. She walked past her pantry, a place she'd probably walked past thousands of times. And for the very first time in 20 years, she said, nothing reached back.
Nothing reached back.
Yeah. That's not just like not feeling hungry. That's something else entirely, isn't it? An existential quiet.
It really is. And that exact moment, Kate describes, that's what a specialist we looked at, Dan Hollis, he calls that the quiet window.
The quiet window. Okay.
He explains it as the moment where the food stops answering your questions and the real ones start talking.
The real questions start talking.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating, and maybe a bit counterintuitive, is this idea that the absence of the craving, that silence, can actually be way more unsettling, more disorienting than when the craving was always there.
More unsettling than the constant battle. That's interesting.
It's a void, right, where something familiar, even if it was difficult, used to be.
And Kate's reaction in this quiet window, it really it brings that feeling to life. She told Dan she felt like a ghost in her own kitchen.
A ghost.
Yeah. The whole house felt too quiet. Her own brain felt like it was turning into a library after hours, just silent. And her big realization was, everything feels like truth now. That's heavy.
It is heavy, and it's exactly that unsettling feeling that Dan Hollis helps us understand. He talks about something he calls the grief of losing the thing that numbed you.
Grief for losing a bad habit.
Yes, exactly. It sounds strange, but Dan emphasizes this happens even when that thing, in this case, overeating or specific food compulsions, was actually, slowly messing up your life. Kate didn't necessarily miss the chips or the bread themselves. What she was mourning, according to Hollis, was the signal, the rhythm, even the self-story that said, at least I know how to feel full.
Wow, at least I know how to feel full. That hits hard. It's the loss of a known quantity, a coping mechanism.
Precisely. It's like losing that dysfunctional friend who was maybe bad for you, but they were always there. You knew what to expect.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We all kind of cling to our comfort zones, don't we? Even the uncomfortable ones. It's familiar.
Absolutely. And this is exactly where Dan Hollis says his real work starts.
Okay.
It's very clear. It's not when the weight drops, not when the labs improve. Important milestones, yes, but not the core work. The real work begins when the human sitting across from him begins to hear the echoes of all the years they used food to muffle the deeper questions.
Hearing the echoes. So, okay, when those echoes start to surface in that quiet space, what are these deeper questions that come up?
They're often pretty profound. Things like, What am I hungry for when I'm not hungry?
Mhm.
Or, who am I without the chase? The constant cycle of craving and yielding or resisting.
Right, the identity tied up in that struggle.
And maybe the biggest one, what's left when the noise goes?
Whoa. So when these huge questions pop up in this new quiet, how does Hollis actually help people? It must feel incredibly disorienting, like you said. What's his practical approach?
Well, this is where he talks about providing scaffolding.
Scaffolding. Okay, not just cheering them on.
No, it's not about pep talks or, just trying to motivate someone through sheer will. It's about building momentum. It's not about restriction. It's about recognition, recognizing these deeper non-food hungers.
Recognition, not restriction. I like that.
And he's very specific about the role of meds like semaglutide here. He says it doesn't solve emotional hunger. It just clears the runway so you can finally see what's trying to land.
Ah, okay. So it creates the opportunity for the work, but it doesn't do the work itself.
Exactly. It quiets the biological noise, but then you need the scaffolding to deal with what emerges in that quiet.
And we actually see how the scaffolding works in practice with Kate's, her quiet triumphs, right?
Yes, precisely. These weren't like huge dramatic moments. They were small, deliberate shifts.
Like what?
Well, like one Wednesday, she felt sad. Normally that would mean snacking, right?
Yeah.
But this time she just noticed the sadness, sat with it, and chose not to snack through
That's
it.
just acknowledging it.
Yeah. Or a Thursday, maybe feeling that old pull to, say, open a second bottle of wine. Instead, she brewed tea and just allowed herself to feel whatever was driving that urge.
Okay, small steps.
Very. And maybe the most telling one,
Yeah.
a Sunday where she went for a walk. Not because she had to, not for the calorie burn.
Right, not obligation.
No, but because, as she put it, it felt like a conversation with her future self.
Wow, that's a powerful reframe. That's not about willpower, is it? That's about building something new internally.
Exactly. New responses, new internal systems to handle those old triggers.
And this leads to a really critical point Dan Hollis makes about Kate, doesn't it?
Yes. He says, Kate is not done. She's not fixed. She's not suddenly a new woman. Which is important, right? No magic wand.
Yeah, very realistic.
But she's here, in the quiet, listening. And that really gets to the heart of it. The real protocol, as Hollis implies, isn't about reaching some perfect endpoint.
It's not a destination.
No. It's about being present, being willing to actually listen to what comes up in that silence. That's the continuous work.
And this brings us to one of Hollis's, I think, most foundational ideas, a really profound statement that kind of flips the script on the whole weight loss journey. He says, weight loss is biology. Staying there is narrative.
Oof. Yeah, let that sink in.
Right. Staying there is narrative. We spend so much time focused on the biology, the diet, the exercise, now the medication.
All the how-tos of losing weight.
Exactly. And those things are definitely crucial for that initial shift. We're not dismissing them. But Hollis is saying the real long-term game, the staying power, isn't just in the body. It's in the story you build inside your head.
It's about changing your self-concept, your personal narrative around who you are now.
Exactly. Which leads perfectly into another concept he discusses, something called identity grief.
Identity grief. That sounds intense.
It is. He describes it as the feeling when the weight came off. Then I realized I had no idea who I was without it.
Wow. So the thing you fought so hard against was also, in a weird way, part of your identity.
Yeah. And this isn't the stuff you see in the shiny before and after pictures, right?
No, definitely not in the ads.
This happens, as Hollis puts it, in the silence after the celebration. It's that quiet, often unexpected, internal reckoning, losing a core part of how you defined yourself, even if you wanted to lose it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's not like the hunger just completely disappears forever either, according to Hollis.
No, not exactly. He says it shapeshifts
Shape shifts. Into what?
into things like memory, the ghost of old habits, into confusion, not knowing how to respond anymore, and just into space. Empty space where the craving used to be.
Space that needs filling, potentially.
Potentially. And he has this really powerful, almost cautionary quote that sticks with you. People don't relapse into hunger. They relapse into confusion.
Ah. It's a huge distinction. It's not the physical urge returning necessarily, but the lack of a new way to navigate feelings.
Exactly. Which is why the support system becomes so critical. What Dan calls that neurobiological scaffolding.
Neurobiological scaffolding. Tell me more about that.
Think of it like building a temporary support structure while you're rebuilding something fundamental. Semaglutide or similar changes might give you that crucial pause. It turns down the biological noise.
Okay, creates the quiet window.
Right. But Hollis warns that the silence can actually be dangerous on its own because, as he says, the stories we've buried tend to rise in that quiet.
The things we used food to avoid thinking about.
Precisely. And that's why the support, whether it's therapy, coaching, a group, whatever works, isn't just a nice to have. He says it's structural. It literally helps you build the new pathways to navigate those rising truths without getting overwhelmed by the confusion.
So the scaffolding holds you up while you figured out the new landscape.
You got it. And this all points back to Hollis's core idea. The real work kicks off when you stop needing food to explain your feelings.
When food is no longer the translator for your emotions.
Yeah. And his other big line, when the cravings stop, the truth begins.
It's a powerful reframe, isn't it? Moving from symptom management to root cause exploration.
Totally. And he emphasizes that what he offers isn't necessarily comfort, but clarity. And sometimes clarity feels less comfortable initially, right?
Often, yeah. Clarity can be confronting, but necessary for real change.
And his overarching message really sums it all up. It's almost a warning, too. Weight loss can change your body, but only story can change your future.
Biology versus narrative again.
And if you're not careful, he adds, biology will give you results that psychology will dismantle.
Wow. So you could achieve the physical goal, but if the internal story doesn't change, it won't stick.
That's the core argument, which is why his approach is so integrated. He's not just dealing with the physical, he's offering language, scaffolding, and narrative memory tools to help people actually come home to themselves.
Coming home to themselves.
Yeah. And he finishes with this really potent line. This journey isn't about eating less. It's about living more.
That's a fantastic way to put it. Shifts the whole focus.
Absolutely. So just to quickly recap the really surprising things we've dug into, we've explored that huge shift when familiar cravings just stop. And that unexpected feeling, the grief of losing the thing that numbed you.
Yeah, and learning that this quiet window, this silence, isn't something to panic about. It's actually a massive opportunity for self-discovery, for finally hearing those deeper questions.
Exactly. And we kept coming back to Dan Hollis's key idea. Weight loss is biology. Staying there is narrative.
Right. Which really highlights how crucial that scaffolding is, building the new stories, the new coping mechanisms, so you don't just relapse into confusion when the old ways disappear.
So if you listening are maybe experiencing this kind of unexpected quiet, or maybe, a craving didn't show up today and it felt weird or unsettling. Remember Kate's story. Remember Dan Hollis's insights.
Yeah.
You're definitely not alone in feeling that way.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Just like Kate, if you find yourself in that quiet window, it doesn't mean you're broken. Far from it. It might just mean you're finally starting to really hear yourself again.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, what new truth, what new understanding might be trying to land for you in that silence?